Today we're going to dive into something really cool, lexical innovation. That's a fancy term for a simple idea, how languages create brand new words. So, here's what we'll cover. We'll start with what lexical innovation actually means. Then, we'll look at the three main ways new words pop up: borrowing them, making them up completely, and giving old words new meanings. And finally, we'll talk about why this whole process is so incredibly important. All right, first things first, what exactly are we talking about when we say lexical innovation? At its core, lexical innovation is basically the engine that keeps our vocabulary running. It's the natural process that every language has for creating new words, so we can talk about all the new ideas, technologies, and experiences that come our way. Okay, so how does this actually work? Let's start with one of the most common methods out there, borrowing. One of the easiest ways for a language to get a new word is to just take it from another language. This happens all the time when cultures mix. One group just adopts a word from another to describe something they've never seen before. And let me tell you, the English language is a pro at this. It's done it so much that one writer, Robert Claiborne, said that English speakers have plundered the world for words. It's a pretty intense way to put it, but it really gives you a sense of just how much borrowing has happened. And you see it everywhere. Think of words like squash or moccasin. Those came from Native American languages. Or the word paka, which means authentic, was brought into British English from Hindi. Over in South Africa, words like bakkie for a pickup truck and braai for a barbecue come straight from Afrikaans. It's like languages are always sharing. But languages don't just borrow words, they also invent them. And that brings us to our next point, the art of creating words from the ground up. This process is called coinage, and it's like being a wordsmith. You're creating totally new words, but you often do it by using bits and pieces of the language that are already there, kind of like building something new with word Legos. Now, there are a couple of really common ways this happens. The first is affixation. That's where you stick a prefix or a suffix onto a word to tweak its meaning. The other one is compounding, which is even more straightforward. You just smash two words together to make a new one. So for affixation, check out these examples. In Indian English, you might hear the word prepone, which makes perfect sense as the opposite of postpone, or teacheress for a female teacher. And in West African English, you have the word destool, which means to remove a chief from power, and it was modeled directly on the word dethrone. See how logical that is? Compounding gives us some great words too. In West Africa, a chewing stick is, well, a stick used for chewing to clean your teeth. In the Philippines, the famous jeepney got its name by mixing jeep and jitney. My favorite might be from Nigerian English, where having long legs has nothing to do with your height. It's a clever way of saying you have connections or undue influence. All right, on to our third method. This one's a little different because instead of making a new word, you just give an old one a new job. This is known as semantic extension. It's where you take a word that already exists and you just stretch its meaning. You expand it or change it to fit a new situation. It's basically word recycling, and it's super efficient. A perfect example is the word corn. In Britain, corn historically just meant whatever the main grain of the area was, which was often wheat. But when English speakers got to North America, they saw this new grain, maize, and applied the word corn to it. And now, in American English, corn almost exclusively means maize. The word got a new, more specific job. You see this all the time with cars, too. In Britain, they call the front part the bonnet and the back part the boot. But in America, it's the hood and the trunk. Same car parts, but the words for them evolved differently in each place, taking on new meanings. So we've seen all these different ways languages get new words. But it really brings up a bigger question. Why does any of this matter? Why is it so important? Well, at the end of the day, lexical innovation is what keeps a language alive. It's how a language adapts. We need new words to talk about new technology, to name new things we discover, and to express our own unique cultures. New words fill in the gaps and make sure our language stays useful and relevant to how we live right now. So if there's one thing to take away from all this, it's that language isn't some static thing set in stone. It's more like a river. It's alive, it's flowing, and it's constantly being shaped by the people who use it every single day. This explainer was brought to you by the IELTS Focus, an English center that specializes in IELTS preparation.